Ah, yes, that's perfect. You're like right underneath the thing when you laugh.
Busting bars over here.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Perfect. That describes me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what you're tuning in for. And today we are doing Collision Course by Linkin Park and Jay-Z.
Yeah, the great mashup here presented to us by MTV, the great MTV as it still was in the early 2000s. With this,
Still doing music related.
Yeah, with this 2004, November 30th, 2004 release.
Very cool. 2004.
Yep, CD, DVD release combo package. It was six tracks. Yeah, I know what we're doing here. This is our 6 tracks on the CD and live performance as well on the DVD. And the full project is covered on the DVD that came with the CD. So it came out November 2004. Another soft case, I believe.
Okay.
As Linkin Park was really blazing the way here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This was another album that I owned.
So you bought them all up to this point. You were getting...
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not live in Texas.
Not live in Texas. That's true.
Yeah.
And I think it was sometime after this point that I stopped buying CDs and switched to copying albums from the public library and saving them to my computer. I think that's about the point that I started doing that. Stopped buying albums and was like, oh, I can borrow stuff from the public library. Borrow them for a day. Borrow about 20 albums for a day. Copy them to my computer.
To 20 in a day.
Yeah, and then I
take them back the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Get another max out the number of audio I could have.
That's what we call a loophole.
Yeah. Well, it worked out well for me.
Got some good records out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a good point. This was probably right around the time when streaming started to take over and other means of getting music, downloading music, streaming, probably not streaming, but downloading tracks was certainly at the forefront by this point. Still put out a CD, DVD combo pack. I mean, people still do that today, but like a big deal, man. Like MTV presents the CD, DVD combo.
Yep, for 2 big artists at the time. I believe Jay-Z had 8 number 1 albums by this point. Hybrid Theory, I think, had gone diamond at this point. So big artists on this scale. Jay-Z had worked with Linkin Park previously, with MTV previously for a live Unplugged set in 2001, so about 3 years previous to this album release.
So we should explain a mashup album. We've talked about it a little bit with Reanimation and with the Britney Spears mashup on the last episode, but probably not, but maybe one of the most mainstream, examples of a mashup album. They took songs that were hit songs by Jay-Z, songs that were hit songs by Linkin Park, and combined them into new songs for a new album. A lot of people do it these days, but at the time, I think it was actually the Grey album that brought that idea to the forefront of a lot of people's minds. It's an album made by DJ Danger Mouse, and it's entirely made of samples from Jay-Z's The Black Album and the Beatles' White Album. It's phenomenal. It was very notorious at the time for being an album that was an illegal album. It still is, because the Beatles never allow their music to be sampled. The whole thing was created for no money, without permission. Danger Mouse just did it as a labor of love and distributed it for free. The Beatles never got paid for that, and Jay-Z never got paid for that, and Danger Mouse was not allowed to get paid for it as well. So there is certainly a precedent of Jay-Z's music being used as a mashup. And it makes a lot of sense that MTV would want to do a project like this where it's an official mashup. Like it's not just a fan mashup bootleg for fun. It's like, okay, well, let's cash in. Like if that's the trend, let's do one for real then.
Yep. They'd worked with Jay-Z previously, 3 years previously, for a live Unplugged set that was released as an album. This is a solid project. So reaching out to Jay-Z here and asking what group he'd like to work with for this project was a cash grab, and he selected Linkin Park.
He picked Linkin Park. I think he chose correctly. He could have chose Limp Bizkit. He could have chose something that was not going to stand the test of time nearly as well as some of this Linkin Park stuff.
So it was originally going to be a couple songs, so not a 6-song project that it turned into, but it was expanded, and it was originally a back and forth between Mike Shinoda and Jay-Z, with Mike working the samples and sending some correspondence over to Jay before they hopped in the studio.
And even though it is verses from the Black Album and other, I think, are they all from the Black Album or not?
Nope. We have 3 tracks from the Black Album. We have a track from the Blueprint. We have one from Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter, and Volume 2, Hard Knock Life.
Cool. But yeah, the point I was trying to make is even though it's the verbatim lyrics, he actually re-recorded them. I think in almost all 6 songs on this, so that it would better. They didn't just on the Gray album. They just took the vocals from the Black Album. On this, it was actually a re-recorded. So technically, it's not even a mashup at that point. Other than they didn't mash up the recordings. They did mash up the songs and the lyrics.
A bit of a rendition?
But yeah, more of a rendition, or it's just cool that he was willing to go that extra mile, and actually do the performance again to match the new record instead of just, taking a track from one of the old projects where it's the same lyrics, but he needed it to fit better and re-perform it. So that's cool that they were able to do that.
Yeah. The re-recordings were done over a 3-day span, July 16th through 19th, 2004, a few months before the full CD DVD project was released. And then once they had the full 6-song CD project completed, they did a live performance of the songs as well in that scene on the DVD side.
And we're going to do that too, just because it is a CD DVD combo on this episode. We are going to review them both. I remember at the time thinking it was kind of a ripoff to buy a 6-song album, and that is why I never bought it. But yeah, I think it was the same price as a normal CD, but they did throw that DVD in there. So it's, you are kind of getting your money's worth at that point. But at the time, I was just like, no, not 6 songs. That doesn't count. Nowadays, I see, it doesn't matter how long it is. It just matters how good it is. And I think maybe nowadays I would have probably picked it up. But yeah, at the time I was like, no, I'm going to skip it. It's not, does it really count as an album? I think now it does. People remember this a lot. Like people look back, Linkin Park fans especially. I'm not too sure necessarily how Jay-Z fans feel about this album. I'm sure some people like it, some people don't. But Linkin Park fans love Collision Course. Like, this was a high watermark. This was really cool. This was an amazing collaboration that they got to work. I mean, Jay-Z's still a legend, to this day. High status. They were at the top of the game right here. They were as big as they could ever be right here.
Yep. I think I think it technically goes down as an EP now, although the lines between albums, mixtapes, which have since now are released as for-profit CDs,
right,
and EPs are all the lines blurred there, so that doesn't really matter. And this was, the Black Album was released the year prior, and that was supposed to be Jay's retirement.
I knew he was lying at the time.
Yeah, so that didn't happen.
It's cool though that every rapper does that. Like, I'm gonna leave.
Yep.
I'm gonna disappear. Now what?
Yeah, so that was a big headline grabber, and I think this was the first project he did coming back, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. He came out of retirement to work with them.
Yeah, yep. It's a kind of remix old material, per se, So it wasn't an official comeback, but because he did perform with them and hop back on here, it was, he popped his head back in the game, per se. So that was kind of a big deal.
So good job, MTV, for thinking of that and putting that together. It really makes it kind of a time capsule. Like, the mashup thing was hot at that time and that place, and they just had to get a piece of that pie, man. It makes a lot of sense. You still see it now. They still do mashups where if 2 hit songs can fit, they'll do it. Like I can't think of any offhand off the top of my head, but I know there's record labels still doing this kind of thing, and the fans do it constantly. And you've got artists like the DJ Girl Talk and a few of these other guys who their whole career, and the Super Mash Bros was around at this time period as well, where that kind of started coming into prominence. As far as, I mean, it was kind of frat boy music, kind of party music, but it was mashups. It was mashups of rap and rock put together into a new song. And that was huge. I think everybody heard that one at the time too. The Super Mash Bros.
It went number 1 on the Billboard.
Collision Course did?
It did, yep.
Very cool.
2 times platinum. It was the first Linkin Park album that had the parental advisory sticker.
Right.
Although the clean version was partially clean. There were some words that were allowed.
They're never consistent.
Yep. So up until Minutes Until Midnight came out in 2007, they had not yet had the explicit label, even on Reanimation, where they collaborated with hip-hop artists. So
that label is voluntary. You don't have to label your music as explicit. That's just how it works in America. Most of the record labels choose to do it if they, if it's explicit. You don't see it anymore. I'm pretty sure some of the recent Eminem stuff that has come out as a CD just doesn't have it. Really? And like it is explicit, like just is, as explicit as anything, but they just don't bother. They're just like, what you're getting, like, which is the whole point. Like the whole thing is like, you bought this, you bought it, like you chose this. So but whatever. It was kind of a badge of honor at the time, honestly.
Yeah. I guess I haven't looked at an album in a long time.
I don't think they do it at all anymore. I think most of the labels are just like, whatever. Kids aren't buying this anyway. Like,
yeah, I mean, you can pick up a book and it has all kinds of
whatever you want
of language in it. So
I did actually get the full story on the fact how they didn't use any explicit language in their first few albums. They were saying in the thing I was reading, they were talking about how their producer would always get them to rewrite the song, rewrite. He just wanted it to be so clear and so just really, really expressing like a clear idea. And they were saying it was totally an accident, that by the time they had gone through that process and done all the rewrites, they had taken all the curse words out. And it was just a byproduct. They didn't set out to like, oh, we should like make it clean so that kids can buy it too, which is what I kind of always figured. But that wasn't their thought process at all. They just wanted it to be so that they could not be misunderstood and so that they could just have a clear, concise message. And it just ended up that it was all, not G-rated, but also not explicit.
Well, we see a lot of that in their writing. There's a lot of question response and a lot of simpler, it's not hard to understand, I guess I would say. So you can certainly see that in the writing of the songs. So that makes sense.
And Jay-Z screwed it all up, dropping 4-letter words and whatever else he wants to say.
However you want to spell them.
Whatever you want to say. Very cool project. Very cool idea for a project. Did not pick it up at the time, but I did end up hearing all the tracks through friends and through other people. It's interesting that this is now the 4th time hearing some of these songs.
That's true.
We've had the Hybrid Theory version, the reanimated version, the live version, and now the Collided Course version.
So some of these songs were quite lucrative for them early in their career.
Oh, yeah. That's a quadruple dip on some of these. Not hating on it. It's just interesting that they got a lot of mileage. I don't know. I think they probably should have done more follow-up music. It took them so long to get to Minutes to Midnight.
Yep.
That was just so much late. It just felt like a whole nother second half to their career. And this whole part of their career is like, well, let's remix it again. It works. I'm not, it's still a great album and I still love these songs. It's just interesting how much mileage they got out of, writing a handful of songs, really.
Well, I think by the time, so you look at their original music, Hybrid Theory in 2000, you had Meteora in 2003, and you have Minutes to Midnight in 2007. That's 3 albums over actually 8 years.
Yeah, it's way too slow.
Yeah, so I'd actually started to trail off Linkin Park a little bit by the time Minutes to Midnight,
I think a lot of people did.
had come out. So yeah,
That's how they did it, man. That was
it.
the path that they walked, and that's what their label was comfortable doing, and that's, it's a business. So you can't just release whatever you want whenever you want, even if you're Linkin Park. But yeah, let's try it out. Let's do track by track. Track 1, we got "Dirt Off Your Shoulder," mashed up with "Lying From You." They don't have any clever titles on these like they did with Reanimation. It's literally just the name of the Jay-Z song followed by the name of the Linkin Park song.
Yeah, could be called like Dirty Lies or something.
That'd be great. That's what they kind of should have done, I think. Mash up the titles maybe. But then, yeah, maybe you wouldn't know what you're getting at that point. You got to know that
have
it's...
to work for it.
You got to work. Right, you got to buy it and find out.
But yeah, Dirt Off Your Shoulder, Lying From You. We start off with nice little intro line. We have a couple of them here on this album.
And that's got to be the beat from "Dirt Off Your Shoulder" where it starts. It starts with Jay's music and Linkin Park's lyrics. So that's how it starts.
So we've got the Jay-Z in the middle there, and we roll then right into Linkin Park song. So we start with a little Linkin Park, dive right into basically half to 3/4 of "Dirt Off Your Shoulder," and then we get the instrumentation for "Lying From You." I have to remember it's lying from you, not lying to you, under
with
you, with you, away from you, lying from you. And then we roll right into Linkin Park. Smooth transition. I'm sure they re-recorded part of this to make it a little smoother. I'm sure this is one of the songs where I don't think the tempo is as different as some of the other tracks. I don't think the BPMs are as far off here. But wonderful transition, little Mike Chester action at the beginning.
Yeah.
Roll right into "Dirt Off Your Shoulder," as if it has a different instrumentation in the background, and then we roll right into "Lying From You," and it's wonderful. We still get the Chester screams.
Yeah, they didn't cut the scream. They could have.
We keep that in there. We get the full experience of both songs here, and kind of meld them together wonderfully.
It's better than "Lying From You." Every time I hear "Lying From You," I try to sing the words from "Dirt Off Your Shoulder." So that proves that it fits. You can sing one to the other just without the mashup. Yeah, I think it's better than "Lying From You," which is amazing. I think I'll give it an A.
I think this is an A+ for me. I love this. I love this collaboration. And some of these collaborations, I haven't quite decided if I'm going to give one an S yet, but some are going to be pretty close. Because when hearing one song or the other, I do think of the collaboration, and some of these do still pop into my head sometimes because I think they were just done so wonderfully. And if I was, doing a mixtape CD of the best of Linkin Park, one or two of these mixes might be on there. This is good stuff.
Point. Yeah, just to remind the audience at home, we rank everything on kind of a tier list, A through F, but we got the S that's even higher than the A, and kind of the way we're thinking about it is if we made an all-time greatest mixtape of Linkin Park, the S tracks is what we would put on there. Not their greatest hits, but their fan favorite hits, according to us, the fan. And yeah, we'll see if anything gets an S in here. That's a good point. I think that's still a fair standard for these. We didn't do it on the live album because are you really going to put a live version on your all-time greatest mixtape? Probably not. This might make the cut. You could put "Lying From You" and this on there. Honestly, I gave it an A, but yeah, some of these you might even double dip. We'll see what goes on here.
So the second track on the collaboration, the Big Pimpin' Paper Cut collaboration, Paper Cut from Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, Big Pimpin' from Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter, his '99 release. Originally, UGK was on the track. The duo of Bun B and the late Pimp C, of course. So there was no iteration of their verses on this track. It was just Jay-Z's verses on this track. And again, we open with Mike and Chester.
Yeah, it starts with the beat from the Jay-Z song, but it's the vocals from the Linkin Park song. It's the same setup as the first one. It starts with Jay's music, Linkin Park's lyrics. Then they bring Jay's vocals in, and they never really switch it up to the paper cut riff, I don't think. And they completely skip the whole second half bridge section of paper cut, like the sun goes down. Like that whole second half of paper cut is not part of the mashup. It's the other half of paper cut. And I don't think this is as good as paper cut. I think the last one was better than the original. This one's definitely not. I gave paper cut a S, so I got to give this like a C-.
Yeah, it's very much a big pimpin' with just a slice of paper cut in it. Thank you. A slice, yeah. And Chester and Mike pop it in briefly. So it's more or less just a different, rendition of Big Pimpin', more or less. So
yeah, it's like Big Pimpin' with Mike Shinoda as the guest instead of whoever the other guests were. It's not as much of a mashup as the first track.
Yeah, it's dropping UGK and adding a little Linkin Park as a feature. So it's fine. B-.
Track 3, we got Gigawatt / Faint. Now, as we've said, this Faint mashup has a lot of living up to do. It's got some big shoes to fill. There has been a Faint mashup in the past, as we have fawned over at length on the Britney Spears podcast. But we got Jay on this one.
Yeah, and this is solid. We start out basically with the Gigawatt Who.
Jay's music,
yes.
Linkin Park's lyrics, but then they mash in Linkin Park's music. So it is a true mashup where you've got both pieces of music, not just one lyric on the other beat and vice versa. It's both pieces of music for the first time on here.
Yep. But it is a slower speed than Faint, and it is about the speed of Gigawatt Who.
At the beginning.
Yep. For Jay-Z's verses. And then we do a full transition. By the time we get to the end, we're in full Faint mode.
Speed's way up. And then, it's mostly just the Faint music. It's really just Faint at the end. Jay-Z kind of disappears.
Yep. Jay-Z does do one verse with the Faint background. He does have to effectively double the speed that he's rapping. So that was a piece that he had to re-record. And we're just Faint by the end. Linkin Park singing their normal last verse, last bridge, and outro to the song.
Which is fair enough. I mean, it was a huge hit. They got the Jay-Z, little spice of Jay-Z in there. And they just bring it on home as the normal Faint, which I'm sure was still on every radio station every hour at this point in time. I mean, it was what, a year or two after Meteora. So
yep,
fair enough that this one's not quite as different sounding from the original Linkin Park song.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Pretty much the definition of a matchup. To start with Mike and Chester at the beginning, roll straight into Jay-Z section, and then to hit Faint, and then keep a little Jay-Z verse lingering, and then have him go double speed, so kind of like a hangover from his original section, so transitioning from, Jay-Z to Linkin Park on the back end fully. I think this is a solid A for me.
I'm giving it a solid B. I don't really know why. I think maybe they could have done a little more with it. Maybe have Jay come back at the end. But yeah, I'll give it a B. No problem giving it a B.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have him pop in briefly towards the end. All right, so next up here we have Numb and Encore. From the Black Album, we have Encore. It was produced by Kanye West, actually, and John Legend. A few other were on the original vocal track as well.
Okay.
And Numb from Meteora of Linkin Park.
Big hit. Big hit.
Yep. And so Linkin Park, for the first time, really gets to take over here. The instrumentation is really Numb with kind of some basic, I believe it's just 808, just the basic track from Encore in the back.
Another one that's very tied musically together, where they have musical elements from both, and it's not just, rapping over the other track. So definitely a true mashup again here. Pretty good song.
Yep. They blend nicely together. We do get Jay-Z, popping in the middle, and Jay-Z kind of tying it together. Can I get an encore? Do you want more in the end? So lyrically, he's involved more. It's nice to hear really a big song. I didn't like Numb a whole lot when it came out, and I'm not the biggest encore fan either, but this iteration of both together works really nicely. We do have all three together, kind of at the beginning, kind of I guess it's a chorus, maybe pre-chorus kind of piece. So we do get that inclusion between all the vocalists together.
Yeah, and they've got Mike and Chester singing Jay's lyrics on this one, which I think is phenomenal. They do. I'm pretty sure it's Chester and Mike on the "What the hell are you waiting for?" and all the stuff.
They trade back and forth.
Yeah, so they're all singing together, which is another step, forward. That's another cool little trick for them to do here. Give you your money's worth on a really cool performance like that.
This was the one single that came off the project. Won a Grammy as well.
Wow.
In 2006 for Best Rap / Sing Sung collaboration. And they did perform it at the Grammys as well. And they brought out McCartney as well.
Paul McCartney? That's insane.
To perform Yesterday in collaboration. So they did the Numb Encore with Mike Shinoda actually on the keys, playing a piano on stage, and brought out Paul McCartney as well and kind of tacked on Yesterday to the end of that 3-song mashup for the Grammys.
That's mind-blowing.
And maybe a little nod to the fact that the whole project, the whole collaboration came from the Grey album mix.
Right. So it's a throwback to the original mashup, which started with Beatles music, and then bringing Paul McCartney. I didn't know they did that. That's like a whole nother level of collaboration right there. Like it doesn't get any bigger than that. That I didn't know. I never know that they met. I wonder what Paul thinks of Linkin Park's music, or if he ever bothered to listen to the rest of it. I know there are some modern singing groups and stuff like that he has followed over the years. I think it's like Bare Naked Ladies, for instance. Not super, super modern, but more modern than Paul McCartney.
Right.
But the point I'm trying to make is that Paul McCartney has commented on more modern music over the years, and he did that Kanye West collaboration.
Yeah.
Which
with
is
Rihanna.
His biggest song on Spotify.
That trio.
It's Paul's biggest song, which I find that to be mind-blowing, because Paul is the most successful musical artist of all time. Still, period. He's sold more records. He's made more money selling records and playing concerts than anyone else ever has. If you have the total sales of records and concert, because a lot of these other guys have like clothing lines and yada yada yada. But if you take the money that was made from playing music, it's Paul McCartney every time. He's far ahead of the rest of the competition in that regard. Absolute legend. He's a knight. Did not know that he collaborated with Linkin. That's got to be a high water mark of Linkin Park's career. I mean, even when you put it beside the Jay-Z, which was right there, that's a high water mark. Them getting to meet Jay-Z and doing a record with Jay-Z, and then that just takes them into the stratosphere at that point.
Yeah. So you can certainly still find the clip out there, but very interesting performance.
Never knew that. Huge Beatles fan, huge Linkin Park fan. Never put that together. That is very cool. It's cool that they thought to do that. Like, well, we're mashing them up anyway. Let's just keep mashing them up. It's cool that the Grammys even cared about this record. It's a drag that this did not prompt the Grammys to make a best mashup album category. Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah, that might get some more projects going.
What do you rank this song?
Oh, well, this is an A for me.
I think I got to stick with a B. I am not the biggest Numb fan. I think on the Meteora podcast, you ranked Numb higher than I did, I believe. So I think I got to go one grade lower. I got to give it the B then at that point.
Yeah, I'd rather listen to this mashup than either songs individually, I believe.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I really like this.
I think that's kind of that's really the test for this kind of thing, for the mashup scene. do you prefer this to either of the original or both of the original? So that's high praise. And then they get an encore. They got 2 more songs. I always wondered why this was not like the second to last or the last, because you do the encore at the very end. But whatever. It's halfway through the album, so whatever.
Yeah. So.
We'll give him an encore. We'll do the next song. We got track 5, Izzo/In the End. Very interesting song. This one's a lot more kind of low tempo, kind of more chill of a song, kind of more laid back. This one is like full on Izzo. There's almost none of the music from In the End on here. It's almost, as far as I can tell, is mostly just the beat from Izzo, and a lot of Jay-Z on the. Some of them are more heavily Linkin Park. This one's like full on Jay-Z, with just kind of Mike and Chester singing. They basically are the featured verse. They kind of do a thing in the middle where they do the In the End rapping part, and then I think there's like even new recordings of Chester kind of doing the harmonies on the In the End chorus. One of the things we criticized about Reanimation was that it seemed to be just old tracks of Chester and that there was nothing newly recorded for the project. This sounds like newly recorded. It sounds like Chester's like harmonizing to the new song. So he got to, they all got to actually record new vocals and collaborate for this. Very cool. What do you think of the song, Michael?
Yeah, I like it. I'm not the biggest fan of Izzo. I do like the new lyrics, the re-recording that Chester did. And I believe that Jay had to do new vocals for this as well. I believe it's a little bit more up-tempo. Izzo originally from the Blueprint, which was released in 2001, and Kanye West has production credits on Izzo as well, but just not. I mean, it's fine. Get your hands up.
Yep,
it's cool. I don't know. That's just
not your favorite.
It's not In the End.
No, it doesn't sound like In the End at
Izzo's
all. There's nothing
never
about
been my favorite. So other than a few newly recorded lines of Chester harmonizing, it just doesn't do it for me.
I think it's cool that the original Izzo and this is a sample of I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. So we got MJ's voice in there, which is incredible. Sounds great after all this time. Kind of making it a triple mashup, really, even though, the original is like a sample. But anytime you can get some Michael Jackson vocals in there, that's going to take your record to the next level. It sounds as good as it did the day it was recorded. I love I Want You Back. That's one of my all-time favorite pop songs across any genre. That would be a S++ in my book. But not a Linkin Park song, not a Jay-Z song, just a sample that's on there. They got a record with Michael Jackson's voice on it, and I think that is amazing. I will give I'm going to give it a C. It's kind of average. I think it's average. I think it's cool that it was, they trusted in the Jay-Z music and that Linkin Park kind of got to do their featured vocal on top of Jay-Z's music. So it's kind of the reverse for this song. It's just not, I don't know. It's low energy compared to what came before, especially after the encore, where they should really be hyping it back up again. It just seems a little more forced, a little more just you got to make it fit, as opposed to like this really fit already and we just had to put it together.
Yeah, it's B- for me. I just feel like they could have done more here and there, whether it's more harmonizing or more, I don't know, something. This just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, could have taken it to the next level somehow. Cool. Bringing us all the way to the final song on the album. This one's a triple mashup. We got Points of Authority, 99 Problems, and One Step Closer, all mashed together. What do you think of it, Michael?
Well, it's basically 99 Problems 2.0, or the 100th problem being that there's not a whole lot of Linkin Park, lyrics woven into this as much.
Yeah.
Basically 99 Problems to the back of the Points of Authority instrumentation. Then we go into One Step Closer with the Chester screams.
And it fits on One Step Closer too. Who would have known? It kind of cuts out halfway through, then they bring in the other riff. But yeah, it's really kind of just Jay rapping to the other song. It's not as much of a mashup as it is just him rapping to the other beat. There's nothing, as far as I know, musically from the 99 Problems original song in there. It's really cool that Mike Shinoda raps along with Jay-Z and then takes over and sings some of Jay-Z's verse for him. And then the whole part in the middle of 99 Problems where Jay gets pulled over, Mike sings all of the cop vocals where the cop is like interrogating him and stuff in the car. So
yeah, the response. Yep.
That's super cool that Jay trusted Mike enough to sing his words, and that they even thought to try that. Like, let's have a different voice in here to do the different vocal part, and it just sounds great. It really works.
Yeah, it's a great wrap up to the project, the trust that they had amongst each other. And I think it goes to the point later that when Mike does go off on his solo project with Fort Minor the following year, that Jay-Z does executive produce that project.
Very cool. Anything else to say about this particular song? 99 Problems has got to be Jay-Z's most famous song, right?
Yeah.
I think it's his most well-known among the general population.
At least at that time, it was up there. I'm not sure that it is anymore. But this is this is a B+ to me, not my favorite off the project. I think we could have dropped some of Jay-Z's verses off and made it more of a back and forth. But I do like the vocal back and forth with Mike picking up some of the verse.
I'll give it an A- for all the reasons I already said. I think it's very cool, very interesting. Not gonna give it the S. Apparently, I give no S's on this. None of them were really. You said you liked a few of them better than the original. This one you can't really swap out for the original. This one's just so much of kind of its own separate thing. You really couldn't swap this out for at least for the Linkin Park. You might be able to swap out 99 Problems for this, but you wouldn't really listen to this over either of those Linkin Park songs, really.
Yeah, but Numb Encore and Numb Encore was great. Gigawatt Faint was very good. Dirt Off Your Shoulder, Lying From You was good too.
So we checked out the DVD included with Collision Course. Pretty entertaining stuff.
Yep. So once they did the re-recordings for the album, they had a little practice sesh, and then they did a concert for the fans, both Jay-Z and the Linkin Park Underground fans as well.
And the DVD takes you through that whole process. It shows them in the studio. It shows Linkin Park in the studio alone. It shows Jay-Z showing up to the studio. It shows them convincing Jay to re-record parts with them and hang out with them in the studio. Yeah, it goes. They actually practice together, which I thought was incredible. Going that extra mile. Not really, you got to do it, but going that extra mile, actually rehearsing. Good job. And then, them going to the actual venue and doing a show with Jay-Z.
Yeah, so they performed at the Roxy Theater nightclub on the Sunset Strip in West Hollywood. I think the tops out at about 500 people max capacity. And folks like Bruce Springsteen, the Ramones, Neil Young, a whole bunch of folks have performed there over the years. A whole bunch of folks have recorded live DVDs and performances there as well.
So it must be set up for that with cameras and everything.
Yep. So it's set up for that kind of performance. System of a Down also made their first live performance there in 1995. So it's that kind of venue. So it was set up for that kind of performance. And Linkin Park fans were allowed, based on a questionnaire, they kind of surprised them with the Jay-Z appearance, and it was the same thing on the other side, I believe, as far as the Jay-Z fans. So it was kind of a surprise for fans to show up to this concert and see them both together, although you can see on the DVD that both their names were on the headlining banner
on the
outside.
Marquee there, Yeah, I wonder. So they must have known when they were walking in the door, but they do mention how they didn't really tell the fans that that's what was going to be happening. And they basically say that they sent out a questionnaire that was like, what are your other favorite bands or other favorite music? And then whoever they thought would be the most crossover with Jay-Z fans, those were the kids that they invited out and like, here's your special ticket to come on out. So I wonder if they even knew at that point what they were getting themselves into.
Probably not.
Or probably not. And then Jay just straight up says he didn't tell his fans anything. I don't know if he just said it was just a Jay-Z show, or I mean, he doesn't talk to him, but I don't. Whatever his manager said,
yeah,
or
I'm sure his marketing team,
his
had
marketing
something
company, yeah,
to figure out what folks would be best to invite. Yeah,
they look like they're having fun. It looks really chill. They've got signs on the wall that say like no stage diving and stuff like that. So I'm sure they were keeping it super contained and controlled because it is like a set, like a movie set as well with cameras and everything. But they look like they're having fun. Jay-Z looks like he's having fun.
Yeah, so the whole project took only a few days, once Mike had taken time with deciding what tracks to use and sent them to Jay-Z. But the recording process and some practicing the performances took place over a few days.
Now we have it forever.
And that is Collision Course.
That's pretty much Collision Course. Pretty cool. At the very beginning, Jay says, like, we're making history right here, man. And I think he's right. I think this will be kind of one of the ones that people look back on. You don't really, nowadays you do have a lot of like rock and rap together. And obviously Linkin Park was at that time was kind of at the forefront of that. But even amongst all of those other different ways to mix rock and rap together, I think this still stands out, and it's good. Like it was kind of a cash grab, but they really pulled it off and really put their heart into it, and they really did a really amazing job on it. And I think people will look back at this as kind of a high watermark of the 2000s era of music, and look back at it as a really great collaboration between two completely different kinds of music.
I'm not sure how this would have turned out had Jay-Z selected a different group that didn't have someone like Mike, or a group that was so involved with their own. Yeah, I don't want to say own production, but own production.
Mike's
as far
the producer in this.
Oh, yeah.
He's giving Jay-Z tips. He's running the board. He's running the Pro Tool. It's literally just Mike sitting there running, like doing what the producer would do.
And there's give and take between Jay-Z and the group as far as what's coming in and out of the project, and what needs to be re-recorded. So just great collaboration. And I just don't know that you would have gotten anything near this kind of quality a project out of a different group.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Linkin Park they got the production, they got the producer in the band with them. That takes them to the next level. They got the DJ in the band with them, with Johan. That's another level of professionalism right there. And I just love stuff like this, man. Jay says in the movie, he's like, I'm just going to be me. You're just going to be you. We're not going to try to be anything that we're not. We just are what we are. And that's the diversity of it. That's why it works so well. Is they're not trying to change each other, they're not trying to make anything be what it's not, but they're just going to see how it fits together with doing what they already do, like doing what they're already known for and what they're already good at. And I just love stuff like that.
It's too bad this couldn't become a series. I always thought when this initially released that MTV wouldn't sponsor a series like this. When I initially bought it, I thought it'd be a longer project as well. I didn't realize it was so short, and I thought it would be an ongoing mini album DVD release. Like they were going to do small collaborations with groups, followed up by many concerts that'd be recorded. So I thought it was going to be part of a series.
That's a good point. They certainly could have. It's kind of cool that they didn't like run it into the ground like that. I mean, if you started doing like Lil Jon meets Korn, like at a certain point, it's not gonna really work, and it will sound forced. So maybe it's cool that they did kind of do one and done on that kind of a thing. But there probably were a few other. Dude, it's their personalities, man. Like it was a shot in the dark, but it's like they really clicked as people. Yeah. Like you could tell that they clicked, as artistic collaborators, like not just doing it for the cash in.
I'm trying to imagine Little John and the East Side Boys and Korn. I'm trying to imagine like Get Crunk. It's like a freak on a metal. Oh my god. Yeah. There you go.
I don't know, man. They could have done it. There was a lot of obviously at that time a lot of rap and rock mash up, and kind of that new era where kids had grown up with both at that point. And, we're able to draw influences from both of those different styles. And yeah, I think you got to mention this one. If you do like a history of mashups, certainly you would have to mention this. You got to mention this if you do a history of Linkin Park. And I think you got to do this if you talk about kind of the interplay between rock and rap. Obviously, there's that Run DMC song where they rap over Walk This Way by Aerosmith. That was in the 80s. So that was probably 15 or 20 years before this. That's always kind of what people point to as, rock fans. Like, that's what got them into rap. Rap fans, that's what got them to start listening to more some rock music. That's a whole super interesting story as well. But the point I'm trying to make is that this Collision Course is up there with that type of a thing. If you did a documentary about the collaborations between rock and rap, you would have to start with Walk This Way. But Collision Course would be in there, man. I do think they made history here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's probably reflected in a lot of folks that we see today, hip hop artists that kind of slip over, or even some of the melding pot that is almost rock, pop, hip hop. I don't know. It's hard to classify a lot of things anymore. But
it's all the same thing at this point. It's all just one genre, really. By the time they started putting trap beats over country music and having rappers rap over rock songs, and nowadays there's no such thing as genre, and this is probably kind of what helped bridge that gap and get people to just start listening. Is it good music or not? Like, it doesn't matter what genre it is, or if it's necessarily something that you can personally relate to. Because all music, I think, it's people telling you stories and bringing you into their world. When I listen to music, it's not necessarily like me trying to seek out what I'm going to personally identify with, but it's more of me just like, all right, tell me where you're coming from. Like, bring me into your world. And they definitely nail that type of thing on here. And I think they maybe opened a lot of people's eyes to other styles of music that they might not have heard.
Yeah, and I think even with the fact that it's only 6 tracks, and, there's a couple of them we didn't like more than others that tend to skew towards, Linkin Park or Jay-Z. Even with that, it's still on the spectrum of some kind of blending.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that they at least show it in different ways.
That was our Collision Course podcast featuring Linkin Park and Jay-Z. Next time on the podcast, we're going to take a little bit of a sidestep, and we are going to cover some of the early projects by Fort Minor, which is the pseudonym of Mike Shinoda. As we mentioned, Jay-Z was the executive producer, kind of making sure that Mike was hooked up with producers and stuff like that for his solo stuff. And we are going to be covering the Fort Minor releases. So we're going to cover some of the early Fort Minor stuff on the next episode. My name is Ben.
I'm Michael.
We love you very much. Please follow us on all social media platforms.